Hello everybody, this is David and this is part 5 of the CasaTunes install. This is the last video as part of this video series. And in this video series, we're going to talk about how to use the new user profiles to configure the user experience for your customers. So in order to control the user experience and select a different user profile, what you need to do is go to the menu and select Settings. And here you'll see under General Settings now there is a new item and it's called User Profile. As you can see here, the user profile that we're currently using is the admin. And the admin user profile is the most liberal and basically it unlocks all the features available in the CasaTunesX app. As you select different user profiles for users, there will be more restrictions. For example, you can see here when we're using the admin user profile, you can see that we have all the system settings and the feature settings and so forth. And while this may be okay for an expert to see, like the dealer, or maybe you have a customer that is more capable, the one thing you have to be concerned about is that they could change the setup of your system. So as a dealer, what you might want to do is you might want to lock down the system so that users cannot change these settings, and therefore you don't have to worry about the system getting reconfigured. And so user profiles is the way to do that. And so if we navigate into the user profile, you'll see that this is the options that you'll see when the profile that we selected is the admin. And you can see that by default, CasaTunes enables the admin profile as the default profile. And that is because the first time you use CasaTunes is you're going to set up the system, so we want the system to be unlocked so that you have access to all the settings. So you can see here that if you want to change the user profile, you can just go ahead and select a different profile. And what you'll find is that we have various different profiles over here. There is an admin profile, a user profile, and a guest profile. And these are the ones that we recommend you use predominantly. So I would reserve the admin profile for the dealer, or if you have an expert user that's setting up CasaTunes in the home, or is going to be administering CasaTunes in the home, you would set that user up as the admin with an admin profile. But most of the time what we recommend is that once you, the dealer, has configured the system, that you basically set the default user profile to be the user profile. The main difference between the admin profile and the user profile is the user profile does not have the option of changing or reconfiguring any of the CasaTunes settings, but still has access to all the other functionality in the CasaTunesX app. Whereas a guest has a more stripped down version of the CasaTunesX app. Maybe some of the more advanced features are omitted and hidden from this profile. What we'll see is when we look at these admin users and guests, the main difference is the settings that are enabled. We call these the profile settings. So the profile settings are different for the admin user, the user, and the guest profiles. Now we have two additional profiles here. One's called Special Room and one's called Special Smart Tasks. The Special Room profile, you select that when you want to dedicate a device to controlling a specific room. And one of the settings that you will be prompted for when you select the Special Room profile will be to select which room you want to dedicate this device to control. Similarly, if you created a Smart Task page and you want that basically to be the UI for the user, you can select the Special Smart Tasks profile, and then when you select that, you'll be prompted to select the Smart Task user whose page you want to be selected. And then finally, we have 3 additional custom profiles, Custom 1, Custom 2, Custom 3, And these are basically profiles that you can rename and you can configure the settings. So if you have a unique need to set up a special profile for a user, you can use one of these 3 custom profiles. And there's no magic to the number of profiles you have. So, we just think that this is a good uh, basis for what you will need. But if you need more profiles, just contact tech support and we can create as many profiles as you need. Okay, so this is how you would select a different profile. So for example, if I want to select the user profile, I can just go ahead and select it. And now you'll see that when I select the user profile, I don't get all the options that I had when I selected the admin profile. In addition, you can see if I go back to the settings menu now, you can see that I don't have all those options that I had as an admin to reconfigure the system. So that's the main difference between the admin user profile and the user profile. The admin profile allows you access to all the configuration settings within CasaTunesX, whereas the user profile does not. So let's go back and select the admin again. Now, when we're in the admin profile, and you'll see here that the profile that's currently selected for this device, it'll tell you what the profile is. In this case, it's the admin. And it'll also indicate whether this is the default profile or not. And as I mentioned before, by default, when you first start up CasaTunes, when you first configure CasaTunes, the admin is set as the default. But we recommend that you change that. So after you've configured your configured your user profile settings, we recommend that you use the user profile instead of the admin profile as the default profile, and we'll show you that in a second. But here's an example of all the different settings that you can set in the user profile. And the only thing that's special about the admin and the user and the guest profiles is that we predefined what those settings are. And in general, we recommend that the dealer has the admin profile set up for themselves, and then on their device, and then for their users, we recommend that they use the user profile. So to take a look at what kind of settings you can set up, if we go into the settings, you'll see first of all that there's the ability to show or hide different settings or features from the CasaTunesX app. So for example, if you don't want the user to be able to change any app settings, these are typically on a per user basis, and in general we recommend that you enable these at least for the user profile. You can disable them for the guest profile if you like, but for the admin and the user profile, it's typically they're turned on. But these next two, the show system settings and the show feature settings, those are 2 profiles that are enabled in the admin but are disabled in the user profile, because these are settings that you can use to change the configuration of your system. So you don't want the typical user going in there and reconfiguring the system, because they probably don't know what they're doing. So we have systems and feature settings, and then in addition, now there's another item that allows you to edit or manage the available music services. This is typically a feature that we do enable for both the admin and the user profile, but not the guest profile. So even as a user, if they want to add their music services, they will be allowed to do that. If you have multiple music servers in an environment, you want to be able to allow changing the music server. This provides another option on the menu that would allow you to switch music servers. Again, that's typically not something that somebody would need to do. Typically, you only have one music server, so by default, that's off in all the profiles. Similarly, when the CasaTunes is not in demo mode, we hide showing the demo server so that they can't pick the demo server at startup and then wonder why they're not hearing something, because they're actually controlling the demo server, not their CasaTunes music server. And then some of these additional ones are like allowing restore, to be able to restore your configuration. That's clearly something that would be restricted to the admin profile. allowing the factory reset. That's another thing that's restricted to the admin profile. And then allowing the home, room, and source images. Again, that's something that we recommend the dealer sets up. So it's something that's enabled in the admin profile and disabled in the user profile. But again, these are just switches, and if you want to change the admin profile, you can go ahead and change whatever you like. And if you then decide you made some changes and you say, you know what, I really ruined this, I don't know what I'm doing, or I don't, I want to go back to where I was, you can just go ahead and just select reset settings, and it will reset the settings for this particular profile. So in addition to hiding different features in the CasaTunesX app, we also have some user interface options. So for example, whether to show the group volume button. So when you have multiple rooms that share the same source and are powered on, you can the group volume button allows you to change the volume in multiple rooms. So if that's a confusing button for your customer, you could go ahead and disable it in their profile. And similarly with the equalization button, if you don't want them messing with equalization buttons, with equalization settings, you can disable that. If you don't want them to change the alarm options, you can disable that. If you want to minimize the now playing control, so that basically it's just go to the next song, previous song, pause or play, you can select this. If you don't want them to be able to change music, you can select the show pick button option. If you don't want them to be able to change the volume, you can hide the volume controls. And similarly, if you don't want them to be able to use the transport controls, you can hide those as well. So these are a lot of options, and by default, especially on the user interface side, most of these are enabled except for the minimize now playing controls. And that's true in the user profile as well as the admin profile. And then in the guest profile, I believe some of these are disabled because you don't want them messing around with some of these. There's also whether you want to enable or disable some of the user interface gestures like double tap, which will toggle the power in a room, or using your finger, sliding it vertically to change the volume up and down. And then, as we mentioned before, we have two special user profiles. One so that you can dedicate a device to control a room, and these are some more settings that you could utilize. The room control settings are more settings that you can utilize to further lock down that interface. And similarly, on the smart tasks, we have a bunch of options that you can do to enable, disable certain functionality in the tasks, as well as lock down the smart task page for a specific user, so that is the only thing on a specific device. They would only see the smart task page, and again, it's in a very lockdown mode. So these are all options that you can set, and you can set these, like I said, you can change these for any of the profiles that are predefined. Or you can go ahead and create your own custom ones, like if you wanted to create a specific profile for a specific use, you could customize the custom one and rename it and set the settings. Okay, so basically then the user profile just basically controls what functionality is available in the CasaTunesX app. And one of the things that we want to be able to do as an admin is we want to be able to select what is the default user profile for users. So when a customer downloads the CasaTunesX app and connects to the music server, what is going to be the default user profile from them? And as you can see right now, it is set to admin, and and also that we can see that for this current device, we've selected admin, which is the default. Now, if I was to change the default user profile, for example, if I change it to user, okay, what you'll see is that the profile actually changed on this device because this device was set to use a default profile. And since since we've now changed the default user profile to be user, it automatically changed it for this device. So if I want to override the profile for this device back to admin, I can go ahead and select admin, and you'll see now that it's no longer the default user profile, but it's now admin, and I get my options back. So as a dealer, just keep in mind that when you do change the default user profile to a user, it's going to change the user profile on this device if it was currently set to use the default as well. Okay, so that's a little bit confusing, but hopefully you understand what I'm saying there. Okay, so one option then when you're the admin is you can select what the default user profile is going to be for your users. And by the way, not every user not every user has to use the same profile. So, but in general, you'll have a default user profile that people will, whenever they install CasaTunesX on a new device, that's the profile they're going to get. And if you want to customize a profile for a specific device, you need to get on that device as the admin and change the user profile. Now, obviously, we don't want people to be able to just come into the user profile, and let's say that they were currently, let's say they were currently given the user profile as their default. You don't want them to be able to come in here and change and pick the admin and then make changes to the system. So in order to prevent users from changing their profile, we have the option to lock down the user profile settings. So as an admin, you can lock these down so that it will prevent users from being able to change their profile. So let's go ahead and lock this now. And when you lock the profile, you enter in a password, and then you also enter in a recovery email address. So if you forget what the admin password is, you can request that it be sent to your recovery email address. Now, when you're setting up the password, another option is whether you want to remember this password on this device or not. So if this is your device as the dealer, then you probably want to go ahead and say remember password. However, if you're setting this up on somebody else's device, you probably don't want to set that. Otherwise, they will have access. They'll have access to the admin profile, and that's not really what you want. So, so by default, we don't remember the password, so you'll be prompted to enter the password, but you can overwrite that. So let's say that I go ahead and set this now. Okay, so everything here looks fine, and because I just entered in the profile, I just entered in the password, it saves it in this current session. Okay, but if I now go back, and let's restart this, and now I go back into settings, and I go into user profile. Okay, now you'll see that the profile is locked. So if I want to be able to change the user profile and change the profile settings and configure the user profiles, I now have to enter in the admin password. And so let's go ahead and do that. And now it's unlocked. Okay. Okay, so that is a brief overview of user profiles, and it's the last step that we recommend you do when you set up a user system. And in a nutshell, what we recommend is when you set up CasaTunes for the first time, the default profile will be the admin profile, and we recommend that you change the default user profile to be the user profile, and we recommend that you lock the user profile settings. Once you've done that, you can feel comfortable that the user will not be able to change and reconfigure your CasaTunes system. So hopefully that was something that you guys will find helpful and will make your CasaTunes installation sites even more resilient. I'd like to thank you for your time,